late, and I know we're going to have participation virtually by,
Yes.
I see Julie, Ron. Can I read this?
Renee.
Okay, Renee. Is Rennie there too?
Yes.
Renee's there.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Baby.
Okay.
Viviana, our student.
So,
Hi, everyone.
Anna, hello. So I'm going to
Hello.
try and keep my voice up. If you have any problems and don't hear something, you can either scream at me or wave your hands. But thank you for participating. But we'd much rather see you in person. But I'd much truly, I could have gotten the president's consent. We could be outside on a day like today. It is gorgeous. And so everybody's got a little bit of spring fever, and I welcome you. And I'm glad that everybody could come here and come inside and help the institution. We have a few things on the agenda, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. First thing would be approval of the minutes. Could I hear a motion? Is there any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes? There being none, could I have a motion?
I'll move.
Dave, thanks. Second?
Second.
Neil, all in favor, just say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. What I was really going to do is change a little bit of the order. I'd have President Wheeler give his report at the conclusion of the agenda. And I know the real part of the meeting has to do with the student, handbook. And so I see Kathleen is either miniaturized, or is she going to do it virtually, or is she handing it off?
I will lead the conversation in this case. Kathleen is here in spirit.
Thank you. So why don't you introduce yourself and then introduce the items out and tell us a little bit about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tatiana Perez, and I'm the Director for the Office of Student Conduct and Community Standards. I come before you to present the revisions that we have proposed. The office is proposing for the upcoming academic year with regards to the student handbook, code of conduct as well. You have all received copies of our proposed revisions. So my hope is to have an opportunity to answer any questions that you may have about the copies that were sent in advance. The items are separated into two larger sections. Section A is specific to the changes that are under the purview for your approval. And section B is informational edits that we are looking to take on with regards to our policies and processes just to standardize the student handbook.
Right. So it's more understandable and smoother.
Oh, yes, user-friendly has been my word as I navigated the edits
I say
this year.
give better guidance.
Yeah. Yes, we're always learning. Every year brings different opportunities for learning and consultation with colleagues across SUNY and otherwise larger outside of SUNY. So there's always an opportunity to learn and expand and include best practices.
And is there anything you would like to, highlight?
Well, section A is specific with the charges under the campus regulations, which are divided into campus rules and administrative regulations, as well as sanctions. So those are what I understand is under the purview for your approval. They are highlighted in terms of what the current language is, what the proposed language is, and a rationale for the reason for why we are proposing those revisions.
I did not get this.
I mean, it was a large file. Yeah.
What was the email that it came with?
Yeah. Initially with the agenda was,
Lisa sent it on the 25th.
Yeah, and I know when I looked through, I didn't see, I saw the proposed amendments, et cetera, and didn't see the agenda, the way things came through. And, but it was in there, but
Or three attachments.
yeah, mine came up,
Yep.
it's kind of,
Yep. I do remember looking at this now.
Copies?
and the rationale is kind of self-explanatory, correct?
Yes. I'm happy to answer any questions. Again, A lot of it is to just concise our language and to make it more user-friendly to avoid the need for continuous edits as we move forward. A lot of the policies live in other areas, so we are linking to those areas that allows if there's any edits to those larger policies, the student handbook can always be current. And again, will decrease our need to have to consistently change a code based on a larger change to a policy. There are other things that, yes,
Why would you want to delete the definitions that are here? Why delete them?
so I am not specifically deleting them, but linking to the larger policy that already exists where it's all encompassing of the actual definitions.
Are they written there?
Yes, so the definitions in these links right here, that would link to the policy under academic affairs that has the full definitions of all the possible academic integrity
But I think
violations.
this is very clear, that one doesn't have to look somewhere else.
When something changes, perhaps, if there is a need for academic affairs to change a definition, it would help the concisiveness of the information so the student is able to go and straight and see what the information is.
So
I
we
wish I
don't,
could
we
show
don't, we just, we don't want them conflicting. So we're
Correct.
trying to have everything point to the same place.
Exactly.
And so so I understand this, we're, as a college council, our job is to update the code of conduct, right?
To approve the.
To approve the changes to the code of conduct.
Yeah.
And then do we approve the changes to like the policies, or is that separate?
That's separate,
Yes.
my understanding.
That's for absolutely. Yeah, there's been different things with what we like incendiary devices and
Okay,
things of that nature. We've had been really specific granular changes as well. This looks more of a language and organization.
no, I'm just like, so we don't have to approve two different changes, right? We're approving, like, we're trying to make everything the same. And with everything online, you, like this, I can click on the academic affairs proposal right here, which is nice, and I don't have to then go back and look and see, wait a minute, why does this say this and this say this? And then they're gonna argue with you in the end, saying, well, I read this one and I said I could do this, and I read this one and I said I couldn't,
Yes,
because
I mean,
I'm
lawyers
just-
just do stuff like things like that. The students would be inquisitive and want to debate things. Yeah,
That's just my thought
This is
on
an academic institution. Why would that go on? And sometimes less is better, as streamlined, as long as it's direct and understandable. And I think that, I mean, that was the gist of what I got. It's less, things expand and then they expand again. And then they expand, and then time comes to look at things and put them in understandable language and be more concise, and it gives better guidance. Is that, am I missing something?
perfectly said. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
And the rationale is just sometimes it's language, just, language, but the meat of the regulations are not being changed.
No, there are some regulations in, CR 10 specifically, hate bias, that has to be updated as required by forces outside of the university, right? The Office of Civil Rights has updated that definition, so we are required to match it as a best practice. But outside of that, things are not changing substantially. The message, the expectation remains the same.
Yeah, apropos, the bias and related acts, those have to be in compliance with the federal law.
Correct.
Congress changed it yesterday too.
And again, it'll change again, I'm sure. And, but we can't anticipate and be quiescent. We have to be reactionary and comply. And so it's something that's ongoing and knows what's going to be next year.
I would highlight one of the, I apologize.
No, I was gonna highlight something, but you go first.
Okay, one of the things that potentially could be seen as a major change from past practices is the recommendation that we move forward with only allowing battery operated candles, so removing the fire safety concern of allowing candles on campus. So far, we have always allowed candles without a wick. And so we're moving towards that best practice across SUNY institutions, also with residential programs. That is the standard. So that is one of my recommendations that perhaps is the larger substantial change from prior to current practice.
And I was going to mention the, did you want to?
I was going to weigh in
Yeah.
from the other hat I wear from the town's perspective and the village's perspective. Remember that the fire department are all volunteers. And so if every time the alarm goes off, they have to get up out of their beds in the middle of the night and come here. And I think this is a good change. It helps avoid potential problems. When someone's like, oh, I'm just going to light a candle, won't be a big deal. Then the alarm goes off and then everyone, according to one of the other rules, everyone has to get out of the dorm in the middle of the night. And so I think it's good to make that change for the students that live in the dorms and the volunteer firefighters.
And I'm thankful for the real life example. What's it right there, not granular, but real. And so those things are, maybe it doesn't have quite the ambience electricity, but it has other effects. It's probably for the other 192 students who had to go out in their whatever, their underwear in the middle of the night. They're thankful that it's electric camps.
I was just going to call out the sanctions list update, which seems pretty important because of my understanding is this would mean that the office has more options for disciplinary misconduct or for responding to misconduct, that more options in lieu of expulsion or suspension by adding the campus residency as something that can be taken away without actually removing someone from academics. I agree with that change very much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
it reflects better options.
Yeah.
And discretion, and things are not identical one after the other. There's some gray areas that regulations could make very harmful consequences for what really shouldn't occur. And this gives them more flexibility.
And I will say, when I was a student here, I knew people that would have loved to have that third option available to them.
You don't have to,
Oh, I won't go into that.
you don't have to speak for yourself, okay? And there's statute of limitations. But, you can always use the third person, but I get it. But it's, you could see it in real life terms that there were dire consequences for what we think was coming up. But you just give them a suspension and stay it.
Right. Well, and I think it was, and I'm thinking of these specific examples, they were reflective of the fact that there are things that are inappropriate conduct in the context of your academic career, and there are things that are inappropriate conduct in the context of your residential community. And being able to treat those based on the type of misconduct, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because context is important and have alternative remedies.
There's an awful lot here to decide suddenly without our being able to study it. There's so many changes and all at once we're.
So I would
Vote on this?
Section A, and yes, there are a lot of changes in terms of a lot of
I've been able to
words.
read it all and there's discussion and I can't read it all. Does everyone know what the changes are?
We got the email on April 25th and I read it. Yes.
Oh, I didn't get it. That's why I didn't know any of this.
I can check with Lisa, but I think
I
everyone
didn't get
received
any of
it.
this.
In general, I would love to get
Trying
this
to
earlier.
study what all this is about.
Possible.
I'm a little different. I got this, but I didn't think I got the agenda and in my script, but I did get.
But you did. Yes.
Proposed revisions.
So there was a sidebar down here by A, which I think is worth restating.
That.
You would rather get the,
Oh, I would like to get the emails earlier. I would like to get the changes earlier than the week before. Because I think that I guess it depends on the role that we're to play in this, right? I mean, we're approving it, but we're not deliberating about it a lot. And I know that we're not necessarily the professionals that would put the policy together, but we are taking a certain amount of responsibility to bless this policy. in order for it to be in the handbook. You know, I'm comfortable moving forward with this because we did have a chance to review it. I would have liked more time, and in the future, maybe we can have more time, but I also know how important it is to have these available for the fall semester, because this is going to be our last meeting, I believe, before the fall semester. And so I don't know that I hate being in a position of having to approve it. You know, from what I've reviewed, I'm comfortable with all of these, so.
I was wondering, is there a hybrid approach here that would say you've done this discussion, you have 1 week to vote on it online or something like that?
I don't know if that's an option. I don't
Okay,
think it is.
you gotta do it.
And from my perspective is, and I'm gonna have to lay bare my character flaws. But when you get things really early, you put them on you never really get to them. You get them last minute, you can't get to them. So where's the sweet spot, Abe? It's hard, you know, it's hard to say. But even more time. But I think that if there was any significant change, this is more language and style, and make it more like introduce this press, or make it more user friendly. I'm comfortable with it.
Yeah, I mean, what I would really like personally is I would love to receive that email, not necessarily as an attachment among all of our materials, but really as a standalone email with a note from the office that's proposing it, so that we can kind of see that, kind of like how you just, Tatiana, how you just went through everything here. It would be nice to kind of receive that preamble so that we can understand like the philosophy that went into the changes and kind of be able to digest that separately.
Yeah, there was a cover.
Oh, was that an attachment?
That was the first page.
But that goes to your point of getting it there. And
We can certainly work on getting it earlier. It's,
Okay, hi, guys. We're at the meeting and we got our hands up. So I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna jump in for my counterparts and ask a question and actually agree with this statement. President Wheeler just asked if it's possible that we can look at this and now that we are aware of the particulars and get it back timely. I think that is
The short answer is absolutely not.
a short answer.
and just a point of clarification, Renee and Rennie do not have voting rights. It's only the 7 members of the council that are voting members with the orange, you know, online. It's Julie, it's Ron, it's Zadie. Right? In the room, it's Neil, Eli, Abe, and Eleanor. So those are the voting members of the council.
Okay, we don't have voting rights, but we have conversational rights, correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So
And I welcome any
my question
remarks.
is, what is the due date for this? Because we're talking about it has to go out by before the fall or very soon.
Well, the
What's
summer
Due date.
for orientation.
So there is.
This is the last meeting of the council.
Yeah.
Till the fall. So
it's the only.
this is it. Period.
Well,
you also have hands
the
up from-
question more or less, my question more or less was, because I used to write policy, the question is, this has to be blessed by the council, but doesn't necessarily, I heard, and I need to be clear on what I heard, but it doesn't necessarily have the entire policy and the entire manual. We don't have anything to do with that, correct?
No,
Correct. Those have already been approved.
it's the responsibility of the council.
Okay, several people are talking and I
approve the
can't
student
hear you.
handbook, and these are changes to the student handbook. Some things aren't being changed, and these are edits and additions, changes. Yeah, that's one of the responsibilities, is to approve the student handbook.
And Julie and Ron both have their hands up.
I didn't see your hand, but
Yeah.
thanks. Julie? Were you raising your hand?
Renee, were you done?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you're interested in hearing wordsmithing from us, but there's 3 specific proposed languages that don't make sense to me because of like 1 or 2 words. So I'm just gonna put them out there because I did review it and I am prepared to vote on it today. And I apologize for any background sound. We're on a very busy road. So my first comment is on page 6. It's under the CR 17 sexual assault misconduct, number 0.01. The sentence ends with blah, 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 sexual based stalking or knowingly transmitting an STI or HIV to another and or persons. That doesn't make sense to me. Another / and or persons. So I would just look at that language there. I think there may be a word missing, or maybe I'm just not reading it entirely.
Person and or persons.
To another person and or persons, right? So it would need to be, the word person would need to be added.
Ready to vote on this?
I'm listening to her right now.
Should I go on to the next one? It's hard to hear, as Renee was saying, it's hard to hear when more than one person speaks. But should I go on to the next?
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great. My next is on page 7. It's under AR 13 in the candles and license section in the proposed language. It reads, no person shall possess any non-battery operated candles, incense, plugins, making of candles, or any other open flames. There needs to be some other word in there because it's saying, essentially that is saying no person shall possess the making of candles. So there should be some other word that's added in that says you can't possess these things and you can't make candles. So that's just another wordsmith. And then the last one is under on page 8, AR non-motorized vehicle use. The words, the first sentence doesn't make sense to me. It reads, no person shall engage in the restricted use of non-motorized vehicles. The fact that it says no person shall engage and restricted to me is conflicting. So it's either no person shall engage in the use of non-motorized vehicles or use is restricted. It seems like a double negative there. So that's not clear to me either. But the rest of it, with those very minor changes, and the reality is that doesn't make or break it, I would be prepared to vote on it today.
Yes, they are.
The restricted use, just for clarification, thank you so much for those notes and edits. For clarification, the restricted use is specifically identified on the link where the policy describes it. And some of these examples are engaging in tricks in certain areas of campus, not disengaging from your non-motorized vehicle. For example, a skateboard while going down the academic concourse. But you're muted. We can't hear you.
You're muted, Julie.
Julie, we can't hear you.
Sorry. I fully understand what you're saying. I would just say it might be more clear if you said no person shall engage in the use of non-motorized vehicles as restricted on the university campus.
Your points are well taken.
Again, I'm not going to sit, we're not
You
going to
have a fine-tooth comb.
I'm just reading it for clarification.
And the editing is correct. But I don't think any of those edits have any effect whatsoever on the import or effect of the changes. I think they're still understandable. I don't think it would be a debate even by the blowhard lawyers. Affect any specific interpretation. Thank you. Was there some, was
Ron?
Ron is handed.
I've had a chance to read it, and I would think that we probably need to have a little bit more discussion about this than what we have. A parliamentary procedure that I would offer would be that we suspend this meeting for 1 week and then reconvene in 1 week to give those who have not had a chance to read and actually give everybody a full chance to read it. And if that would be the will of the council, I would propose that amendment. And if it's voted down, then we will vote on it today. But I think we should, at least in fairness to those who have not had a chance to read it completely, consider suspending for 1 week and then coming back and reconvening for maybe a half an hour. It can be a limited amount of time. And at that point, we will then vote.
there a second?
Second.
Seconds. Discussion?
I'll just, on the discussion, I am, generally, I'm hesitant to support these kinds of motions because they can open a Pandora's box, but I do like draw on my experience as a student here when the student handbook was of strong concern for me. And not that there was anything specific about it, but it governs our life. And I would hate to take away the opportunity for debate. So if it's feasible, I would support this and plan, unless someone convinces me otherwise, to vote in support of this.
Anybody else?
I offer this amendment as a way of either moving us forward now or allowing an opportunity for debate. And I will stand by whatever the will of the council is.
How many people do you need for quorum, and can we all make it next
We
week?
got it. I don't know. I'm not going to commit myself.
I can't, I'm taking a new job, so I don't know if we'll have quorum in a week. So we should find out if we're going to have quorum. If we don't have quorum in a week, we shouldn't postpone the vote.
Well, then, if that's the case, then I will amend it to say tomorrow.
I'm not going to be doing tomorrow.
Also do have a time clock here as well.
Well, why don't we raise our hands if we could be here next week?
Oh,
So it's 1 week. Was there a time in the motion?
No, I left it open.
there are key people in this room that won't be here next week.
Yeah.
The entire week or just any one specific day?
The question, all in favor of suspending until an unknown time?
My concern is that if it gets suspended and we can't get a quorum, this won't pass before the fall.
Actually, we need it before.
We need it for summer orientation.
Yes,
Yeah.
which starts
June.
well, we have a transfer orientation coming up in a week.
I think we hear the feedback
Mm-hmm.
of the council, which is really relevant.
Yep.
I think the question is, are these questions and the changes so monumental that they actually warrant trying to do a do-over at this particular time in our history and our time just before commencement? The schedules of the staff are beyond constrained.
And the effect would be that the current handbook just continues without any revisions, correct?
Right.
It doesn't abrogate anything. So it just these changes are just not adopted.
The section A changes.
So
Well,
And-
yes, the section A
That's-
changes up until the time that there's a vote. Right.
Yeah.
We do need the summer in order to send these edits to our partners in OCM so that they can update the manual, the handbook accordingly and have them revised by our office to ensure that they are being properly reflected in that document. Is a very large document. So it does take some time to look at it and make sure that everything is as it should be, and then to have it ready for August 1st. The standard at the university has been that students August 1st starts signing off on the handbook as they enter our community. So August 1st is really a deadline, but obviously before I go and leave, I would like to be able to produce a document that can stay and be what we move forward for August.
Have you mentioned
Okay.
Title IX as well?
Oh,
I have not, we haven't gotten there.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we also have federal changes that are impending that are going to take a lot of this team's time that are a federal mandate. So we would send them out to a courtesy to this group, of course, but that are going to take a lot of time and attention because the government has dropped new Title IX regulations.
Okay, I would like to call the
Ron-
question.
Ron
I'd
has
like to-
yeah, he's trying to-
I'd like to call the question, and I understanding that a no vote means that we will reject it and that we will then take a vote today. So I call the question.
I'll take the prerogative of the chair.
Can we do a roll call vote?
Excuse me?
Can we do a roll call vote?
Excuse me?
Can we do a roll call vote?
Sure.
Yeah.
But I'm going to have my say before the debate. And this is what I'm going to say. Had, and maybe 15, 20 years on the council. Usually there's one or two revisions in the handbook. This is a much more comprehensive.
Change.
And as Eleanor probably appreciates. So I get that. and get the concerns. That's all I have to say. Call the question. All in favor of suspending the vote on the student handbook for 1 week on?
Point of order, I've called for a roll call vote. I've called for a roll call vote, which means that we will each vote individually, not as a
May
single.
I just mention one thing? So having held this role prior, I just want to make clear that when it's presented, it can be presented in a variety of ways. The way it was presented for this year is to give you the exact changes. And I don't know how it's been presented prior, but we wanted to make sure you had the exact changes. So there may have been changes, the exact size and volume to this, but it may have been presented in a different way. So I just wanted to make that
Previously, it would be just the actual change. It's very specific.
understood. We wanted to make sure we were very clear.
You know, a couple.
Sure.
Whatever it was.
Sure.
Okay. Neil? Your name for suspension?
I'm opposed to it because I'm worried that we won't be able to vote on it and it won't work out.
Dave?
I am, I realize this is going to be very challenging for the staff, and I want to make clear that I have the highest respect for your time. I'm voting in support of this with the understanding that there is going to be some legwork to figure out a time that we could potentially meet on Zoom to cast our votes in the next couple of weeks. Realizing how challenging it is, I am still going to vote in support of the motion.
Yes, suspension. Eleanor?
I would like to wait to vote on this.
Okay, so which now is a yes. Julie?
I'm a nay vote. I would like to vote today.
Ron?
Nay.
And Zanny, is she there?
Sadie?
I don't see her.
I am also a nay vote.
I didn't hear that. Oh. No? I'll vote no. So it does not carry. Now, back to any other debate? I haven't had a motion yet, but I think I'm anticipating, or any more discussion, I should say, on the proposed changes. Anybody? And do I hear a motion to approve section A of the memo regarding proposed revisions of the student handbook / code of conduct, campus regulations and sanctions for 2024-25, which falls under our purview? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Julie, thank you. A second?
Second.
Neil, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? One, thank you. Motion carries. Thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your comments and debate. Things in the future. Okay. Okay, so let's see. I know, I have no interest in the budget, but I know, you know, we have so little control. Why don't,
Did Ron?
you're on?
I'm not sure who mentioned it earlier, but if we could have a procedure whereby information that requires a vote like this is sent out at least 2 weeks prior, so there would be sufficient amount of time for everybody to read it. And if someone has not read it or is not quite sure what they should be reading, that they will contact the office and make a request that it be resent to them. Can we have some kind of process for that? I don't want to make it as a motion, but I would.
Yes, that's well taken.
It's well taken. We will do
The
that.
important discussion, whether or not there is a formal motion. I think that's the takeaway for this vote. And you need at least 2 weeks. I think next year we're going to be faced with the same thing. There'll be some changes, maybe minor, maybe major. I don't know. I'm very not, terrible at predicting the future. But I know that next year there'll be some changes in the handbook, and the council would require at least 2 weeks' notice.
I can promise that will take place.
Is that sufficient, Ron?
Yes. Unless anybody else thinks it needs to be longer.
Okay. Budget?
Okay, so I have some things to share and I will go through this rather quickly. The budget stuff is evolving very quickly. So much so that some of my cabinet colleagues, sorry, I'm trying to talk and chew gum at the same time. Some of my cabinet colleagues don't know the information that I'm about to share with you. So, today I just want to briefly go through, what we know.
Can you move their box?
Yes, absolutely. What we know about the state's enacted budget and what it means to New Paltz. Technology, okay. What we know about the enacted budget and what it means to New Paltz. Talk briefly about the presentation that a few of us made of the operational stability plan to SUNY System Administration. And what we were asked to do and how the budget factors into that. And then we'll do the usual, how we doing this year. Okay, so I'm gonna move my friends again so they can see. What we know today is that the enacted state budget was another good year for SUNY. There was $114 million to SUNY at large for operating purposes. What I found out just this morning was that SUNY New Paltz will receive $2.1 million of that, and that is unencumbered state support. So that will go towards salary increases.
Yippee.
Yippee. Another $128,000 of that $114 million will come to us in internship money. So it will add to the incremental funds that we got last year that we're currently in the process of figuring out how to give to our students. So more money for the students.
This context, more is better, right?
Yes, more is better. The capital support, while it was a great year again for SUNY, $1.3 billion, they did change the distribution between critical maintenance and the bigger projects. So they decreased the amount of critical maintenance that was being doled out to the campuses. Our share of that decrease is $823,000. That goes toward, I call it the non-sexy projects, the leaking roofs and, leaking sidewalls. That part will be reduced, but the larger projects that we have currently on the books, including College Hall, the Athletic and Wellness Center, and the Peregrine Dining Hall, are not affected by that change. So that's good news. Other direct funding that SUNY New Paltz received was $150,000 continuance of support for the Benjamin Center. And that goes to support the salaries of the individuals that are working there. And we also got a $1 million direct support in the form of support for the science of reading micro-credential. So all that is great news for SUNY New Paltz.
Can I ask one quick question?
Absolutely.
Do we have any leaking roofs that we should be concerned about?
Always. Always. We're always battling the rain. So, but we take care of them pretty well here.
So I take that answer to mean that we not going to be overly concerned.
We're not going to be overly concerned, no. The $823 million with $1,000 for the problems that we see here is a drop in the bucket. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
No pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Oh, okay. So the operational stability plan. I think at the last meeting, we mentioned that there was a request from the chancellor's office for the campus to go up to present a plan to fix our budget to basically be at a zero deficit by this year 2027-28. So on April 18th, the president, provost, myself, and Vice President Turk went up to Albany. And very quickly, what we did was we told them about the process by which we were going to attack this budget deficit. So we talked about our new annual program and budget planning process. We talked about new controls that we've put in that process for quarterly reporting with an option for mid-year corrections if key performance indicators aren't being met. We talked about some efficiencies and redeploying resources to make room for critical investments that we need. So we know that's always a part of our planning, but we're stating it outright that we need to find some efficiencies and that it's an all-campus effort. It's not just on President Wheeler's shoulders or on the budget office shoulders. It's the entire campus's job to make sure that we are successful. We talked about the financial components of the plan. So every month I meet with interim CFO Josh Sager and his team to talk about the nitty-gritty details. We're not going to discuss those here, but we talked about the key cost drivers, and it's no surprise that those are people and inflation. So with collective bargaining increases, with the challenges that we see in this particular area, with regard to it being an expensive area in which our faculty and staff are living, and salary increases not going up at the same rate that housing costs are going up, that it's making it difficult for us to recruit and retain qualified faculty and staff. So we talked a little bit about that. And inflation is everybody's challenge these days. We also talked about some required investments and other investments that we needed to make. So last year, talking about the incremental funds, we were required to invest those funds in certain activities. So we have to make room for that in our plan. We also made some major investments for the Science of Reading micro-credential, for new programs that we're trying to launch, and most especially for our enrollment initiatives. Then we flipped the switch and we said, okay, but what new monies are coming in? Now, when we went there, it was April 18th. We could not count on any new monies from the state budget because it hadn't been adopted yet. So we only talked about enrollment increases and what that means to our plan, changes in room rates, as well as room occupancy. We are not quite full in our dorms just yet, but we expect to be there by the fall. So that will bring new monies to the campus. We also talked about the increased revenues from the micro-credential and from those new programs. So we balanced out the investments with the new revenue. And then always good budgeting practices require cost savings wherever we can. So we are going to be looking at retirements and resignations. Do we need to redeploy positions once they become vacated, or can we save money by not reinvesting in positions? We always look at our contracts. Are we getting the best bang for our buck? And we just completed our clean energy master plan, where we hope to deploy new technologies and ways of doing business to save on utility usage and cost. That helps both with our budget and with the Executive Order 22 to reduce our carbon footprint. So this is just a graphical presentation of what our budget will look like as proposed by our plan. And you can see that by fiscal year 27-28, our revenues exceed our expenditures under this plan. So we were pleased that the Chancellor's office came at this meeting very collaboratively. They offered their support for the campus, both in marketing and programming, and they were very engaged in the conversation. 2 days later, the budget was enacted, and today we found out what that budget means to SUNY New Paltz. How the enacted budget actually plays out in our operational stability plan, now that we can add those in, budgeting's an iterative process. We don't yet have the budget requests from the departments, and we are formulating right now our enrollment projections for the tuition revenue piece. So in the next few weeks, before July 1st, we should know what we are looking at as far as closing that gap for fiscal year 24-25. I'm going too fast, just let me know. All right, so how are we doing this year? We had another decent month, the month of April. The inflows exceeded the outflows, so our cash balances went up. Actually, they stayed just about the same. We are above where we were in the last couple of years, but again, I want to remind you that we had a revolving loan that we borrowed money and we got that money in February. We will spend that money in July. And this, I won't even bother you with these numbers, but this is just the year-over-year comparison. We are at 83% of the year completed. We are only 79% spent toward our budget, so we are still holding, doing well with this fiscal year. Questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Michelle. You do a terrific job. You represented us well in Albany. I don't know if there's cause and effect with a 2-day gap, but
I think we convinced them.
how would I say, you were just of bad times and were rewarded. And so thank you. I mean that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're going to have the president's report.
All right. So thank you all. Ron,
I'm sorry. I have to run. As much as I'd like to hear how well Dr. Wheeler has been the steward of our institution, but I have to go. I would like to wish everybody a happy summer, and I'll see you at commencement.
Yay.
Thank you, Ron. See
All
you
right,
at
thanks.
commencement.
Well.
All right, bye.
Since we last met, I want to just go down a list of things and happy to answer questions. Our vice presidents continue to do monthly presentations at our faculty senate meeting. And why that's important is because each VP over his or her area has been presenting to the entire community where they are in their strategic thinking. And the goal here is to make sure that everyone hears directly from the source of the division, how and why decisions are being made, as opposed to just hearing from me, and to really demonstrate the inclusivity of the VPs and the strength of the VPs. So I want to thank each of the VPs. We had open house for newly accepted students on April 6th and April 20th. I attended both. We had about 1,500 at one and over 1,100 at the second in terms of family units. So there's students and families. But combined between the two sessions, I think it was over 1,000 students or somewhere very close to it. They were wonderful, and it didn't rain all day. It wasn't weather like this, but because the campus shows so well. I disappointed a family member on the first day because they'd heard about my orange and blue shoes and I didn't wear them, and he came up to me and said, "Where are the shoes?" Hopefully we won't lose that family. But I think the campus community, and I attribute some of this to the individual meetings the presentations that the VPs are doing, are able to make a direct pitch to the community. Here's how you can help. Because the strategic thinking is to get more of an inclusive orientation. In fact, we had alumni and volunteers from our foundation, maybe from the council. It was great for those open houses. The science of reading, you just heard, that was great news, $1 million from the state to support this. We were seeded with $6 million in the foundation last year, and we look like we're going to have really very good news soon. We have a meeting Monday that will propel this even further into that space. So I'm just really ecstatic about that. It's quite promising. And it also speaks again to the team effort. You've heard from me before, the micro-credential and the science of reading moved this university into two distinct areas. And those two distinct areas are, one, Erica can finally say that she has received a 7-digit gift from a living person. That's really, and because it's happened now more than once since we all got together as a team. So as a team effort, we're moving the needle. That 6.37 was the largest gift we'd ever received. And now we've added at least another $1 million to it, and maybe more in less than 2 years. That's outstanding for us.
Are the givers alumni?
No, the foundation that gave us the 6.7, it was introduced to me and by the chancellor, and this team had to work in ways that and that's the second area. We were stretched. We had never done a thing like this before, and the team produced the outcome in less than 6 months. we were required that in a year, we have at least 5,000. The year ends on the 11th of September. We're already over 6,000 enrollees. So we've met and exceeded in ways, and I think people have skid marks and burn marks and claw marks to prove that we've been doing that level of work. We held a retreat. The funder was here on the 19th. That went really well. It was very good for our team members to hear from them. You may have seen the announcement that went out about the Sojourner Truth statute, that this has been my entire time here, like, where's the resting place for the statute going to be? We've come to a decision on this particular statute. It will have a permanent home on this campus. The process for doing that is going to respect the sojourning of Sojourner Truth. It will first go to Kingston City Hall for a year. It will go to a not yet to be disclosed site in Newburgh, probably for another almost year. And then hopefully in April of 2026, it will come to rest here with a celebration to land here for permanent residency before commencement in 2026.
Is this a new statute?
This is the statute that had the controversy, this Trina Green, it's that statute. She's the artist, and it had a lot of controversy around it. I know that everybody's not totally happy with the decision, but I do believe that even the naysayers said that they were listened to in the process, and that's where we are. And that will happen, and I'm very excited for that. Commencement, May 16th, 17th, and 18th. Please mark your calendars. The 16th on Friday are graduate ceremonies. The 17th is liberal arts and sciences, and the 18th, the other schools. It's exceedingly exciting. We are in the process of conducting a program, market, and financial analysis. This is really a platform, a precursor to our strategic plan. It's going to give us really critical market, program, and financial data to ship. So it's our starting point to help us understand more critically and empirically, where are we as an institution before we start strategic planning and venturing into that space with wishful thinking. This analysis is underway now. It's going to be about 11 weeks, and strategic planning starts in earnest in the fall. We're vetting contractors, vendors right now. Stella and her team probably had a huge hiccup. FAFSA across the country. Look at it. And Tahina has somebody who's navigating that now for college entry. FAFSA, as you know, is the financial aid form that the feds simplified. Well, they simplified it, and it took 6 extra months for it to get to a point and congressional hearings. So we're hoping, that's why it was so important to accepted student day, because many families have yet to make decisions because they need to know what their financial aid package is. So, but luckily, this is happening to every school in the country. So the playing field is somewhat level, except our private school colleagues, they could make offers off of their endowments in ways that public schools can't. So we're hoping we haven't lost ground there. And then finally, just to mention, our cultural climate on our campus, and we're working diligently to maintain our First Amendment structures, our Title VI structures. I don't think anybody's missed the news lately. I'm very pleased with the level of work that our campus has been doing over the past several months, and we will continue to monitor and use the best of our talent pool to continue to make this a safe and engaging campus. I don't think anybody has a silver bullet for how to get there, and so we're all marching through this together. That's my report, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? President, I want to thank you for your leadership. I know it's not always easy, but it is incredibly productive. And the team effort is very, very obvious with respect to everything from vice presidents on down to, to landscapers. And it's really important to be a team. That's how you function. And the leadership is extremely important in every way. And people look to the leader. And you've been a wonderful leader. And let's see, all those happy faces at commencement, they are not just the students, but the families. they are just radiant. So it's a wonderful thing to do. I encourage everybody to attend. But, you know, it's a great time. And can't control the weather. You know, other than that, I'd say be there and you'll get a lot more out of it than you'll be giving in your time.
Feel like,
Yeah, sure.
thank you for your good words.
Yes.
It's all, you're very, 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 very welcome, but it's just the joy to help people. And it's a joy to help the institution. It gives the first step up on the ladder to so many people. I am so fortunate and to have the opportunity to give back. And I love it. And I mean it sincerely and thank you. But I thank all of you, and it's true. And so you're all ambassadors of the university, and you all carry with you some good light to bring to our community, and it makes things better for everybody, and in ways you will never even know. But you just do it, and it's the right thing, and you'll feel like I do, very happy and proud. So thank you. We're going to have meetings next year. Lisa will let us know when they are. Only time New Paltz is going to be headlines is for how wonderful it is. And you know, it's, you know, and we'll just see how things go and be supportive. We need you. And I thank you all for a wonderful year and I hope you have a wonderful summer. I hope to see you all in the fall. Thank you. Now, is there any old business? I think we're done with. Any new business? I think we're done with.
New job.
So, oh, yeah. Now, what's the deal here? You can say anything else.
Yes, unless they don't want me, but.
Yeah, the answer is yes.
So I'm leaving my position as New Paltz Town Supervisor and going to work, it's for Cornell, but it's based here at the DEC. It's with the Hudson River Estuary Program. And my job is going to be to work with scientists and elected officials and try to help them implement climate resilient actions for municipalities.
Fantastic.
Fits my background when I used to do science, but once you leave, the door closes in academia like that. And so, but I get to now like think about science and take a science-based approach. So
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
The rivers, the mountains, and beyond imagination.
no, it's
You should have a lot in the ocean.
Very excited about it.
Challenges, and you get to use your experience. All different.
I'll be working with Julie.
Oh, good. Oh, good. Oh, yeah, Julie, get it. City of Kingston. Let's see, there's a few of us around here. So thank you again. So is there a motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Eleanor. Second.
I'll second.
Dave, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Happy summer and good luck to the students. And Tania, good luck to you. Graduating senior. Thank you.
Everybody, to see you.
All right.
Well, actually.